stay the course. So in that theme, I was looking for what to say and what to do this morning. This is entitled Living Free, and it's written by Vincent Parr. I'm sure many of you have seen it on emails, but it's just worthy of another time. If I had my life to live over, I'd make more mistakes next time. I would relax. I would limber up. I would be sillier than I've been this trip. I know very few things I would take seriously. I would laugh more and cry less. I would be crazier. I would worry less about what others thought of me, and I would accept myself as I am. I would climb more mountains, swim more rivers, and watch more sunsets. I would eat more ice cream and less beans. I would watch TV and have more picnics. I would watch less TV and have more picnics. I would have only actual troubles and few imaginary ones. I would feel only sad, not depressed. I would be concerned, but not anxious. I would be annoyed and not angry. I would regret my mistakes, but not feel guilty about them. I would tell more people that I like them. I would touch my friends. I would forgive others for being human, and I would hold no grudges. I would play with more children and listen to more old people. I would go after what I wanted without believing I needed it, and I wouldn't place a great value on money. You see, I'm one of those people who's lived cautiously, sensibly, and sanely, hour after hour, day after day. Oh, I've had my moments, and if I had it to do over again, I'd have more of them. In fact, I'd have nothing else, just moments one after another instead of living so many years ahead of each day. I've been one of those people who never went anywhere without a thermometer, a hot water bottle, a raincoat, and a parachute. If I had it to do over again, I'd go places and do things and travel lighter than I ever had before. I would plant more seeds and make the world more beautiful. I would express my feeling of love without fear. If I had my life to live over, I would start barefooted earlier in the spring and stay that way later in the fall. I would play hooky more. I wouldn't make such good grades except by accident. I would ride on more merry-go-rounds. I'd pick more daisies, and I would smile because I would be living free. And now Carol will sing Freedom.
Yeah, there we go. Yay. Okay. Ready, sir? You snap your fingers out there a little bit. Yeah. Here we go. We build walls when we should be building bridges. We lose touch when we ought to be holding on. We hold back when we really should be giving. We hold out when we're holding on to nothing at all. Freedom from fear of certain failure. Freedom from the bar we place across every board. Freedom from things we just imagine. Freedom from all that came before. Yeah. We speak out. We could learn so much from silence. We think twice when we shouldn't think at all. We give in when we should stand and speak our truth. We give up, then it's going. Freedom from fear of certain failure. Freedom from the bar that's placed across every door. Freedom from things we just imagine. Freedom from all that came before. Yeah. Freedom from fear of failure, hunger and greed. Freedom from jealousy, pride, anger, and heartbreak. Freedom from everything you want that really you don't need. Freedom from glamour and illusion and insurance companies. Freedom from atomic bombs and wars and penitentiaries. Freedom from all our addictions and our poor pitiful me's. Freedom from sickness and sorrow, ignorance and poverty. Freedom from all bondages, just the freedom just to be. Freedom. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Thank you, Alex. Welcome. Thanks to all the musicians, too. I mean, there's so much love in this music. You go to some places and you say, where's the love? And you come here, here's the love. They're so good. I think they're going to be in Vegas next week at 7 o'clock at Caesar's Palace. Check your time and channels for that specific time. Spiritual liberation, as Mary so eloquently spoke to, just what is that? It's a big subject in a way, and then in other ways it's a very simple thing. You know, in the older times, previous generations, spiritual liberation was more about discipline and giving up and sacrificing and being disciplined within your mind, body, and emotions. And it's a different era now. We're in a different age. And so I call it spiritual liberation, stay the course, because one area that we can work on to be liberated is to stay in our lane, to stay in our divine course, what we're here to do, to go inside and stay focused and not be swayed this way and not be swayed that way so much by people in other lanes, other institutions, other religious organizations, other philosophies. They're all okay and they're all perfect, but if we stay our course, we can feel liberated, we can feel free. When I first got into music, way back in the 70s, kind of dating myself, I was liberated to the extent that I came out of my old mindsets and I was starting to write music and play with musicians who were creating, and it's like I was letting go of things and I felt so liberated. And I had the look, had to have the long hair, had to have the, the jeans with the holes in them and the t-shirts. And my mom would say, Lonnie, aren't you going to wear anything besides cut-off jeans and t-shirt? But this is what everybody wears. This is cool. I feel free. It's a relative freedom, folks, because we know that freedom is inside. It doesn't matter what we're wearing, really. We've learned that. I mean, we kind of learned that through the 60s, those of us that transited through the 60s. Remember when we went through the long hair phase, and we went through some war phases, and we did some political and philosophical phases. It made us recalibrate our culture, didn't it? And I think from that culture, from that time frame, we've realized that it doesn't matter what we wear. It doesn't matter if you want to wear pink hair, if you want to wear a coat and tie and feel good and feel the way that you want to feel that day, if you want to wear a t-shirt, it's all okay, because who you are inside and your freedom is inside. It's a realization of who you are inside of yourself without judgment. So that's what I want to talk about today. And I've got some tools I would like to share with you that I've worked with in being spiritually liberated and staying the course. I'd like to read for you Khalil Gibran's quote from the prophet. And if it is a care that you would cast off, that care has been chosen by you rather than imposed on you. And if it is a fear that you would dispel, the seed of that fear is in your heart and not in the hand of the feared. So it's within us to liberate. It's not outside impositions. Do you know that people in prison write great books? People in prison have done great artwork. Sir Isaac Newton in 1665, there was a bubonic plague in London. I think it was 1665, 1666. And he was at Cambridge University. And all the students in Cambridge had to go home. They were told to go home because of the bubonic plague. And I don't know if you remember, I mentioned this about a year ago. There were 3 things that Sir Isaac Newton did while he was at home in a bubonic plague. He studied optics. Do you know what came out of optics? Lasers. You know what came out of lasers? Holography. Lasers can do a split beam and you can have a holographic image now. I saw a show in Las Vegas. Maybe it's where Alex and Carol will perform next week. And Michael Jackson appeared on stage. And you would swear that it was really Michael Jackson up there moving around with this technology. The holography was so amazing. Isaac Newton worked with optics in the bubonic plague to lay down the foundations for optics. He laid down the foundation for calculus. Do you know what took us to the moon? Calculus. People doing mathematics with backup calculations and equations guided us to outer space and guided us to the moon. He laid down the foundations during the bubonic plague. And I'm speaking in terms of what's going on now in our world and how we can recalibrate and utilize the time and not feel suppressed and not feel blocked in, because our spiritual liberation is freeing our own self. Calculations would take, just to close that out a moment, if you can imagine, we're on a spinning Earth moving around a sun, and we're going to fire a rocket ship that's moving at thousands of miles per hour, that's going to go over here to a moving sphere and go into that orbit around the moon. Calculus. He laid down those foundations of the bubonic plague. And what's the most popular thing that he did during the bubonic plague? The theories of gravity. The apple fell from the tree, F equals ma. Gravity. Can't get away from it, but he understood it and he studied it. And so my point is pretty clear, that we can recalibrate ourselves and use this time. If it's slowing us down a little bit on the outside, use that time for the inside. Read more books, do your studying, enjoy nature, connect with each other in ways that you can find to connect. It's not the same. It's probably never going to be the same in our society in some areas. And that's okay, because everything is changing. Life is a series of changes and adjustments. And that's a good thing, because that helps us be more creative. It helps us get more in tune with who we really are. It helps us go vertical, as I've said before. It's easy to say, hey, I can't wait to get home and go horizontal. Well, let's go vertical. Let's go within ourselves, into our higher realms. We live in a world that has multiple realities. And like attracts like. So we'll attract to us the reality that's vibrating with who we are. One definition of liberation is the act or process of freeing someone or something from another's control. The act of liberating. My definition, and I would invite you to share with this concept, is the removal of traditional social standards, fixed attitudes, old conceptions of reality, and what's not important. And isn't that what we're doing now in our culture? We're kind of sorting out what's not as important and what is important and what's not important. And that is liberating, to have those realizations. Realization, self-realization and enlightenment, in my humble opinion, is not one flash of light and all of a sudden, like the Easterners, you say, hey, he's reached enlightenment. Okay, well, why isn't he down here telling us how to do that? Because we all kind of reach that enlightenment and then we're done. It doesn't work that way. Not in my life. It's phases. It's awakening. It's working with ourselves emotionally. It's working with ourselves physically. It's being aware of our bodies. It's honoring our body. It's being aware mentally. It's being vigilant in our thoughts. And of course, that leads us to the spirituality that we are. Stay the course is important. I set a goal in early this spring. My goal was I wanted to go to Colorado. I wanted to fix my house up. I wanted to put it on the market. I wanted to sell it. I wanted to pack up my house, and I wanted to move to Florida. Then the pandemic hit. And luckily, I have a great partner that supported that thought in every level, in every way. And we did just that. And people said, well, you're leaving. Are you going to be able to get gas? Are you going to be able to find restaurants? How are you going to find a room? We're in a pandemic. Can you even get across the border at Texas? We weren't sure. But we stayed the course. And I have to tell you, everything worked out without being influenced by a pandemic. Now, I'm not denying that it exists, and I'm not denying we have issues and we have to use common sense. I'm not denying that at all. I wear a mask when appropriate, keep my social distancing. I'm only saying that if you're in the divine flow of your higher self and your own goals, they can be inner goals, they can be outer goals. Whatever those goals are for you, that's appropriate for you right now in this moment, whatever those are, you don't have to be swayed by what's on the outside. Stay your course. Stay in your lane. And that, to me, is freedom. It's freedom from the distractions of our world, and my gosh, we have so many. If we allow those distractions to come in, TV, interwebs, as I call them, internets, iPods, iPads, texting, non-texting, computers. There's a place for that, obviously. But stay the course. Find out what your divine purpose is. And your divine purpose at this time is going to be different than maybe yesterday or maybe tomorrow. But when you're in your flow and your divine purpose and you stay the course, it's going to be a whole lot easier to be spiritually liberated. You know, we have a phrase in our society, stay in your lane. How many has heard that one now? Stay in your lane. Carol even tells me to stay in my lane in harmony sometimes. She's coaching us. Lonnie, stay in your lane down there on that harmony part. But it's kind of funny because if you're driving down the street, and St. Pete has some narrow streets, we want to stay in our lane, don't we? It's funny because you have my lane, and that's your lane, and that's her lane. Well, there's the right lane, and that's the left lane, and you're over in your lane. Don't get in my lane. I don't want to get in your lane. If you get in my lane, I'm going to get over in your lane. She's getting in my lane. Why don't you go in her lane? Making kind of light of that fact. But it's a good phrase to stay in your lane. And that's not showing coldness to other people, and it's not showing lack of compassion. It's staying on our journey to discover our spiritual liberation. It's staying in our lane. And I think it's just more evident now because of the pandemic that hit and the associated fear with that, we got a little bit distracted. So stay the course. That was my message on that. Seek and ye shall find, knock and the door shall be opened. That holds true hundreds of years ago. It holds true now. You know, in the past I'd mentioned the 4 agreements, and a lot of times I get nods when I mention the 4 agreements. A lot of times I get a far-off look in the sky. There's 2 of them that I'd like to bring up in this context and just briefly mention. One is do not assume. You know, this is a tough one. Do not assume if there's someone talking, it's about you. Do not assume if someone brings up your name, it's a negative. Do not assume that this organization is clandestine. Do not assume those kinds of things. Don't take things personal, number 2. That's a tough one. It's one I've worked with. And I know a lot of us work with this. Not to take things personal. You know, we tend to take so many things personal in our life, and, you know, life just is. And if somebody is abrasive or somebody's mean or somebody's coming at you in a negative fashion, isn't it their issue? If you're centered and at peace, isn't it their issue? and honor that, and honor your growth to be able to say, you know, this isn't mine, this isn't my stuff. So on the journey to spiritual liberation and staying the course, I would add a couple of my own, if that's okay. I invite you to listen and see what you think, because some of them I know you already know them. You've been studying them. I know you. You know me. Yeah. We're all here together. All is one, and one is all. And it's true wherever you go in the universe. All is one, and one is all. And in my experience, in my journey, it started way back in the early 70s. Part of it was right here. Part of it was with Ram Dass, studying him. Probably the most profound experience that I can have is feeling the oneness of all life in those quiet moments. Oneness with you, oneness with nature. It brings the peace, and it brings that inner essence of who we really are. And to me, that's very spiritually liberating to just have that simplicity of oneness. What you put out is what you get back. You don't have to call it karma. You don't have to worry about past lives. We don't have to worry about any of that. We just know that what we're putting out in our thoughts and our feelings is what we're getting back. The universe will feed that back to us. It's the perfect mirror. It's the perfect mirror of all time. The universe is in constant change. It's in constant motion. It's in constant movement. So for spiritual liberation, we don't want to cling too hard to our fixations. In other words, we like to have a foundation to build on, of course. Spiritually, a belief in God, a belief in spirit, a belief in a higher power, a belief in your oversoul. Whatever that foundation is, it's good. Keep that. But a lot of the knowledge that we're learning is changing. It's being updated. It's being upgraded. It doesn't mean that the old truths were not true. The old classes and things we read were not true. Of course they were. But as we lift up ourselves and as our vibrations increase, what is truth to us will change. It will be upgraded because evolution is ongoing. There's never an end to it. There's never an end to it even beyond this life, in my opinion, from what I've seen, what I've read, people I've talked with. There's never an end to life, growth, and expansion. And the last thing that I would invite you to think on, and I know that you can do this, and this is my personal journey, is learning to allow. Now, how simple does that sound? But I want to talk about that for a minute. Can we allow this person to be fully who they are with no judgment? Can we allow this organization, this political group, this philosophical group, this religious group, can we allow them to be just who they are? In the higher realm, just say, in their realm, they're perfect where they are. He or she is perfect where they are, and I'm going to stay in my lane and honor that. And the less I judge that, the less I'm judged. Okay. Thank you so much for letting me share this short message with you today.
Thank you, Lonnie.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful to hear you speak again.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'm
Thank you.
grateful that you moved from Colorado to Florida.
Thank you.
I want to remind you today that we do have a different offering procedure than has been true in the past. I would like the ushers, please, to come forward today. Let us pray. Infinite and radiant source of all life, we give thanks for the gifts of spirit that unfold in us, through us, as us, in our inner life, in our outer life, in our gifts of service, our gifts of money, our gifts of time, our talents, and our treasure. We ask that these gifts may continue to flow through us into the world of flesh, with all men, all women, all beings, all who are around us, and especially within the heart of this ministry. We give thanks, and we ask a blessing upon everyone present and all who are listening to this experience wherever you may be. May God bless you, each one. Amen. As you leave today, you may leave your love offering or gift or tithe near the exit to the sanctuary, and we thank you in advance. One other thing I want to mention, here at the church we have been noticing this entire month, the people that have been literally coming by the church and bringing donations for the food barrel. How many of you have noticed the food barrel just inside the church door? How many of you have noticed it? Thank you. And for all of you that have helped to support it, thank you. You can come by anytime during the week, and to our loved ones and friends in the community, if you're in the neighborhood of the church anytime during the week, simply let us know, ring the bell or call us, and we'll be happy to receive that donation. We're working on the 7th barrel of food for this congregation for St. Pete Free Clinic. And we've raised nearly $1,000 in cash for those who don't want to bring something tangible to support. So we really, really appreciate that, and I cannot tell you how valuable that is to families and their children, old and young alike, who are in financial need and what we say who are hunger deprived at this particular time. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Reverend Zemke, and thank you, Lonnie. Wasn't that a wonderful message? Give Lonnie a round of applause. And I especially like the part about like attracting like. And it puts me in such gratitude to think that I have attracted all of you fine folk into my life and that you've attracted me. And I'm very grateful for that. We've got a wonderful Temple family here. And the second thing that I'd like to say before I go on to Love is My Decision, and that is to remind everyone, not only the people here, but anyone who's watching us on YouTube or Facebook, that we're going to be having a psychic showcase. We have it twice a year, and our fall showcase is coming up. It's going to be October 10th. And if you want any information about it, you can go to our website, which is www.tlgtemple.org. It's www.tlgtemple.org. Please go to our website. You can find out any information about our showcase. And so now I will end with our last song, Love is My Decision. So if you know the words, sing them softly behind your mask. And if you don't know the words, take these words to be your own. Yeah, if you could turn that up a little, yeah. A little bit more, please. Love is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision. Right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down that road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision. Right here and now. My decision. Right here and now. Have a wonderful afternoon, everyone. See you next week.